Hey there, welcome to the Her Business Podcast. I'm Suzi Dafnis. I help established women business owners step out of the day-to-day and lead businesses that don't rely on them. And this podcast is dedicated to helping you run your business by one person's rules. Yours. I am really excited about today's episode, and if you are listening to the show, it's likely that you are not brand new to business. You've been around the block a few times, just like I have. Maybe you already have a team that you manage, or you're thinking about hiring your next team member. Maybe you've hit the revenue goals you had in place. Now you're turning your attention to being more profitable. Either way, you are not brand new, is my point. So why do you still feel doubts creeping in? Maybe your doubts these days aren't about your capability, and maybe it's not imposter syndrome, but it's something else that has evolved. Because there's this particular kind of confidence erosion that appears when you're an established business owner, when you're established in both life and business. And it's actually far more confusing than the beginning challenges you might have faced because it's quiet. It kind of sneaks up on you. And it grows from the gap between the woman you've become after years of experience and how you're continuing to show up in the world. Because often we are the ones that hold ourselves back, despite our growth, despite how far we've come, because we hold on to old versions of ourselves and we walk through the door with the same old habits and presentation to the world that we used to be. And that creates this incongruence, this misalignment. When you're not showing up externally as who you believe yourself to be internally, something feels off. And it can start showing up in your confidence, in your presence, in how you show up in the rooms that you walk into, in how you avoid rooms that might feel intimidating. My guest today has spent nearly 3 decades in the retail and fashion area, and she has brought her experience to small business owners, helping high-achieving women at points of transition show up as their most authentic and powerful selves. Lisa is a style strategist. Lisa Raja is her name. She works with CEOs, founders, partners, women who negotiate, women who lead, women who make decisions that matter, and almost every single one of them has said some version of this to her. They've said, I know how I'm supposed to dress for my role, but it just doesn't feel like me anymore. Now, there's a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from being highly competent in every room you walk into and still feeling like the way you're showing up, the way you look is letting you down. Like you're showing up as a version of who you used to be or who you think you should have been instead of the woman you actually are right now. And having an authoritative presence isn't about wearing a power blazer. It is about being aligned with who you really are. When how you look matches who you've become, confidence isn't something that you have to perform. It's just there. I want to tell you a quick story. Very early on in my business, for the first few years, I was in my late 20s, early 30s. I was growing a very profitable business. I was in big rooms, making presentations, having to be very authoritative, and I didn't feel especially confident. And I started to wear suits, and I was wearing suits at every opportunity. I had them in every color, and it just wasn't me. Now, I can wear a nice suit these days, but I know who I am in a different way. I know how I want to show up. And what I found is just finding ways that are more truly me, that show my personality more, where I feel congruent, where I feel like I'm in my skin, I'm not performing. And as I said a few moments ago, this isn't about having a power blazer for that networking event you're going to or that board meeting that you're going to present at. It is about you being confident in who you've become. So today, Lisa is going to help us blend 2 things: our inner world, who we feel we are on the inside, and our outward expression. I cannot wait to dive in. So without further ado, as the saying goes, let's welcome Lisa Raja to the show. Hey, Lisa, great to have you here.
Thank you so much. I feel very honored to be here with you today. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm really excited for what we're talking about today because you've worked with powerful, high-performing women across leadership and business and major life transitions. And what I'd love to know is that when women come to you at that stage of life and leadership, what are they really grappling with beneath the surface? What do you sense?
Yeah, it's a really great question. So it's funny. The women I work with typically come to me at inflection points, right? It's they're stepping into something, they're stepping out of something. There's a major shift that's happening in their life. And what I find is that their outward representation does not match the shift that has happened on the inside. So they're in a different space emotionally and mentally. And the forward presentation of how they show up in their daily life does not look the same. And that causes this rift or a friction point for them. And they don't know how to cross the bridge from the inside to the outside. And frankly, when the outside doesn't match, and if it doesn't measure up to their standard or what they want, it actually erodes confidence. And working with such powerhouse women, to see them at the level that they're at and watch them in their natural habitat of leading, to see that their confidence has eroded because the front doesn't match the inside. It's a very, it's hard to watch at moments. You're like, just kind of shocking. Like, you feel that way. You can't feel that way, but you do. And so that's usually where I meet them at.
I love what you're saying there, because it's something I think that sort of quietly creeps up on many of us. But many of us were taught to override those feelings and to push through, to perform, to adapt. But when a woman stops doing that and she starts trusting herself, tell me, what changes in how she leads?
Yeah, I mean, I think when she finally takes control or acknowledges those changes, she's better for herself, for her team, her family, and the community at large, right? I think we are breaking glass ceilings at record numbers right now, but I think this generation still has the emotional labor, the sandwich generation, the responsibilities. Our marriages are under duress, financial stuff, kids and whatnot. And all of that can wreak havoc on the inside, knowing also that there's the physiological changes that happen, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a moment. But when you have those two things and you're still going for the top and you don't recognize or take control of those things that are happening, the physiological and the things that are happening internally, that balancing act is no longer balanced. And it's actually an opportunity for women, specifically as we're starting to lead more and more, that if we take a moment to problem solve for what that is, for that shift that happens or that inflection point, that it's better for everyone at large. And, I hate the cliche statement or whatnot about put the oxygen mask on yourself. It's been played out, but it is the truest example of, women need to do that for themselves so they can affect the larger. There's a benefit at large for everyone. And, it's not just one woman, it's all the women need to do this so that at large, we're in a better place.
Right. And as I said, sometimes these things kind of sneak up on us, but we start feeling like, I don't feel as powerful as I used to be. I'm not showing up the way I want to be. And when these women come to you, what do you notice shifts first? Is it when she starts to get into being more showing up as herself every way, in how she looks, in how she's speaking, in how she's presenting herself? Is it her decisions? Is it her presence? Is it her willingness to be seen? Or is it something else that shifts first when she starts to embody who she really wants to show up as?
It's a very quiet confidence that's palpable. I'll say that. I think at the moment that she realizes that she does have to put herself first and that she has to make that effort, there's a level of boundaries to protect your mental peace that comes to play. And that does not have to be overtly loud declaration. That is often a soft recognition or acceptance of, I am going to do this and I am not going to do that. And there is a massive amount of confidence that comes through. I mean, I think, as women, we're like constantly like, do more, prove more, be a doer, take on more projects, make the muffins and turn in the report. And it's very interesting, the shift in the room when you're like, I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to delegate it out. I don't need to prove my worth and how much I can do. And I'm telling you that it's the volume of that being able to say no. And I mean, yes to boundaries, but also like what is right for you and your physical well-being, and allowing you the time to take care of yourself. It's like I said, palpable.
Right. I really believe that, the more that we do take care of ourselves, the better a leader we can be for others, because we're not running on empty. And leadership changes over time, who we are as a leader, perhaps when we first start our business compared to now we have a team of people, or we're in a different stage of life. But we're still trying to lead from an earlier version of ourselves. What happens when who you are on the inside, as you said, that quiet change has evolved, but how you show up on the outside hasn't caught up because you're still caught in some previous version of yourself?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you might need to call in reinforcements and have someone help you. I think it starts with the acknowledgement of that shift, right? I think women typically attribute stress or things when they go off the rails. It's like, oh, it's my boss, or it's my colleague, or it's the pressures of home. And then you let it go and you sweep it under the rug. It's like, it's just life, right? You just bookmark it as life, and it doesn't need to be addressed. And I think the moment that you realize that it is something bigger and it is actually an opportunity, then is when you see the shift or the change, right? And then you might need someone to help you actually execute it, because, you're talking about leaders and everyone's moving at a mile a minute and you can't do everything yourself. But sometimes just the acknowledgement of that the reflection is not equal, that is the first step in actually taking care of it or changing it so that it matches how you want it to, to be, to reflect, to feel.
Our audience, mostly business owners, so they don't have that boss, or sometimes even the co-worker, because they are leading their teams. But they do want to also be the leader, not only of their own business, but seen as leaders in their industries. And that takes being visible. Yeah. But you've seen women avoid stages, rooms, opportunities, not because they lack capability or the skills, but because they didn't feel their very best. They didn't feel like themselves. And there's a cost for that. Talk to us a little bit about the hidden cost for women's leadership of not feeling confident enough to show up in the spaces that are really going to help us progress.
100%. Women cannot afford to not show up at their fullest. And at the risk of sounding woo-woo or really on one side, I think the world needs women or female energy right now more than ever to fix all the things that need to be fixed. So if a woman in a leadership position does not show up because she does not feel her best, the world is at a disadvantage. And women leaders who do show up and do make the effort are actually the role models for the ones that are climbing the ranks to say, she did it, and so can I. And, there is this 7-Eleven rule that in the first 7 seconds of someone meeting you, without you opening your mouth, 11 judgments are made. Your confidence walks into the room a few seconds before you even show up. And so how you care for yourself, how you present yourself is basically telling that room what you are expecting for them to give back to you. And that feeling is contagious. When you see it, you see a woman, frankly, even a man, but let's keep it on the topic of a woman. When she walks in and she can feel shoulders back, chest out, it's not about a brand or what brand she's wearing. It's how she puts herself forward. Right. And so I think there's a loss at large for women if they don't show up in their, at their very best, and they're setting the example for those to follow. And so I think it's very important.
And how we show up as we enter those rooms and those opportunities talks a lot about our personal brand. And you describe a personal brand as something that enters the room before we speak. Now, you've just said that 7-Eleven rule, first 7 seconds, 11 judgments. But if who we're saying we are speaks before we even enter the room, what does it mean for a woman to really own her personal brand without performing or posturing or pretending to be someone she's not, or dancing on TikTok or whatever the heck women think they need to do? Or what does it mean for a woman to really own her brand?
So, I coming from the perspective of fashion and retail and where I've spent most of my career, there is so much noise at what is thrown at women on what they should look like or what they should wear or what's in and what's trending and what's fashionable and what's not. And I think it becomes very confusing as a female consumer on what we should wear. And especially when there's not enough time and there's all these things to do, you're just mass consuming whatever is supposed to be the in thing. And in that process, you forget about like, do I even like that? Does that look good on me? My favorite question I get is, are skinny jeans in? And my answer is always like, if they look good on you, they're in. And if they don't look good on you, they are out. And so coming back to the things that you love, that make you happy, that fit your body, it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. And a lot of times you can do it at any store, at any price point, but it's about owning, honoring, and respecting the things that you like. And when you are bathed in the things that bring you joy, it has a natural power of making you feel incredible and confident, because I'm not trying to be you. You're not trying to be me. She's not trying to be her. I'm just trying to be myself. And when I've chosen all the things that look good on my body, that make me feel really good, that's comfortable, it's not itchy wool or whatever, bothers your skin, that if you focus on that, then that's how you build your own confidence. That's how you set yourself apart. That's how you stay true to yourself, because you did the things that bring you joy as it relates to your body shape and size.
Well, one of the things that I've noticed, and I've noticed in women around me, is that midlife, menopause, those things can really shake how a woman feels in her body and her identity, because, maybe we don't have the lean arms or the waistline, that we did in our 20s and 30s or 40s. And often women at those ages and times of life are when they're really upping their leadership responsibilities as business owners. They're not newbies anymore. They have experience. They've had their own business for 10, 15, 20 years. But their body is doing weird things. And so how can women move through that transition without losing their authority, their momentum, their status, if you like, as business leaders, as business owners and business leaders?
Okay, so I have a massive passion for menopause, as you know. I spent a long time figuring out what was going on with my body. I thought I was having an out-of-body experience for many years. I went through my journey much earlier than most, and so it was very confusing. And it was before Oprah made it cool. So I was like, what I have since learned, and since certifying as a menopause coach, because I work with women's bodies, and naturally, to your point, this is the number one topic that comes up. And so it's been a beautiful lens on what I do. But I think it's 10% of women leave the workforce because of menopause. And of that 10%, it's 44% of senior leadership that leaves. I mean, that to me, we can't afford for senior leadership to leave, any women to leave, but women specifically of that stature in the corporate America to leave. It doesn't make sense to me. But just to kind of come back to the journey, my heart goes out to perimenopausal women specifically, because they don't know it's happening, right? Like, I think we're fighting aging, we're fighting what, anti-aging products and all the things. So we're viable and we're still attractive and we're still all the things that, young women get as a compliment. It's the reverse when you go through menopause and you're no longer fertile and you can't make babies anymore. And that mind game is a very unhealthy place to be. And until recently, where menopause now, it's like you can see role models like Oprah and Halle Berry and Gwyneth Paltrow and all the beautiful women who are living normal lives and doing great things in the world. We didn't have those role models before. And when I went through it, I was having panic attacks. I was executive vice president of people operations and was in a conference room having a full-blown panic attack to the point where I couldn't catch my breath. And I don't have anxiety. And the rational person is saying, Lisa, you don't have anxiety. What's happening? And the other part is like completely off the rails. And so it is important to understand that this is happening. It is also important, and this is why I said there's a shift and the physiological changes. They're out of your control, first of all, and I need women to hear that a lot of what's happening has nothing to do, you can't, it's part of life. What you can change is the external noise that makes those symptoms worse. And it is this opportunity or this portal that I like to call, where it's an opportunity for you to focus on the things that are important for you, specifically on the side of health. It's the place where you can finally say no, take into account the things that are important for you or that are not. And in the end, all of those decisions make you stronger, give you the confidence because you've taken your body, your health, your needs into control. And ultimately, you are a better leader because of it. I didn't know it in the moment. I let my boss tell me that I was emotional and that I was leading different. I didn't even know what that meant at the moment. I'm like, I'm just telling you, I'm melting down and I don't know how to stop it. But it was learning that was normal. It was learning that I had to make some changes and doing all that and coming out on the other side and realizing after that, I went into work a much stronger, more clear leader than I was before. And everyone could notice the difference. Like there was a shift in my energy and it was for the better, to be clear. But it was a very clear moment of me having to take myself and put myself first.
And I've noticed in my own business as I went through this transition, just, I'm the boss, so I wanted to be responsible to my team to say, this is what's happening. This is what I'm going through. They've seen me go through the anxiety and the panic attacks, always very responsibly, of course, but also, again, because these are women younger than me who are coming up and they're going to have the same experiences or their version of them, to know that you're not going crazy. You do need to prioritize sleep. We'd get into our daily huddles and it's like, I haven't slept. Like, I haven't slept either, and all these women who are in that midlife going through this transition, just being in, and then me having to hold the space and go, I get it. You're going through this time. How do you prioritize yourself? No, leave and make sure you get to that yoga class because that's what you need to do, or whatever that is. So I think as women leaders and bosses of other women, just knowing that they are going to experience these things as well and really modeling that real self-care that you're talking about. So business owners, we don't have time to scratch ourselves most of the time. So there could be someone listening that says, I do not have time or energy to deal with this when there are deadlines and I've got 10,000 emails and I'm doing a presentation next week and my team's relying on me. What's a small or self-trusting kind of shift that can change how she shows up as a leader for herself and for those that she's leading in her own business?
Yeah, I think you said something that I wanted to just touch on is it's back to the modeling for the next generation, right? Like I didn't have any help or any support. My doctor gaslit me, so I didn't know what was going on, right? And I think it's very important to be modeling for the next upcoming generations. And I have 2 sons. I'm very crystal clear with them on like, this is normal. This is happening. This is going to happen to whoever you marry or, whatever point in their life. It is a natural and normal part of life, but I don't think it's one small effort. It is actually a big conscious effort. And to have, as you're saying, the support of a teammate or a boss or an employee or whatever it is, but it is the actual, the step of taking that under control, because it's not just sleep. It is also your diet's going to have to change. You can't stay up late at midnight, drink 3 glasses of wine and eat cake and then not sleep and then wake up the next morning and everything's going to be great. That doesn't happen anymore. And by the way, your bones are not as strong as they were. So it is a total package or a recognition of things that you have to do for yourself. I don't think it's one small thing. It's the acknowledgement of it. And then, you have to figure out how to execute it. But I will say for someone who is that busy, I hear you. It's hard. We barely have time to take a shower. That's a running joke in my house. I'm like, yeah, in the shower today. We make time for the things that are important to us. Period. The end. It's magical how time just shows up when you have to do that one thing, even though you didn't have time, all of a sudden you have time. I'm just saying that this thing is so big that you can't sweep this under the rug. And if we come back to one of your earlier questions on leadership and what it means for women not to show up, what's at risk is female leadership at large. So we have to model this for ourselves, for our peers, and for the women that are going to take our positions, not take it as in take us out, but just that are stepping into the positions that we will be then, moving out of as well.
I know a number of women who've worked one-on-one with you, and what I've noticed with each of them is this transformation. They were already beautiful inside and out, but they somehow have honored themselves and they show up in different ways. And I know on international stages and in really important meetings, and they're just showing up in a different way. So they've really honored themselves. And I want to just speak about that. When a woman does visibly honor herself, her body, her well-being, her presence, the evolution that she's having. We've talked about modeling a little bit, but I just want to say a little more. What are we modeling for the women who are watching her lead? And that is, in my communities, her staff, her clients, her prospective clients, the people who see her Instagram reels, the people that see her at networking events. What is she modeling for those people?
So I have a dear friend of mine who runs HR. She's a CHRO of a very prominent company here in the Bay. And she said at one of the conferences, she ended up wearing like a very beautiful dress. It wasn't corporate. I think typically she was in a blazer or suit type of thing. And she was like, I mean, she's arrived. She's way arrived. And she's like, I decided to wear a very beautiful dress, appropriate for work, let's be clear, but not the norm or not what was expected. And she said the amount of women that came up to her afterwards and said, oh, it gave them the confidence or the desire to also present themselves in a way that made them feel good. And, you know, I have always said, when you look good, you feel good. When you feel good, you do good. And when you do good, it's contagious. And so I think that kind of aha moment when you look in the mirror and you're really proud of who looks back at you, it's you. And again, when your shoulders are back and your chest is out, there's this confidence that is palpable. Women want more of that. They want that for themselves too. And so I think it's the effort and seeing that is how the women coming up the ranks will also emulate that, because I think it's a very powerful, dare I say, beautiful feeling.
At her business, we say your business, your rules. What does that mean to you in how you work, in how you lead, in how you work with your clients, and what you say yes to as a business owner yourself?
Okay, I love this question. Many moon years ago, I owned a boutique. It was one of it was my most favorite chapter in my career, to be honest, for many reasons, but that's another story for another day. I remember right when I opened, and I was young and green and figuring a lot of things out real time, like most business owners. You're building the plane while you fly it. And there was a woman or two at the beginning that were like, you should do this and you should do that. And you should also have this and you should think about this and should. In fact, I'm launching a community right now, or I'm in the process, and I had someone recently do the exact same thing to me. But back then I went home and I sobbed. I sobbed and sobbed on, I did something wrong, or I should have done it better. I wasn't good enough, or I wasn't smart enough to think about that. And then I got mad. It's like, you know what? When you have the time, the money, the interest, whatever, to do what I'm doing, then I will take your feedback in that moment. And I don't say that to sound negative, because there was a mass of people that I still know today that had such supportive and complimentary things to say about what I was doing. So for me, it was about finding my tribe. And I don't need to be everything to everybody. I actually think that's the kiss of death, and that there's enough people and people who have similar values and ideologies where you can grow a business or a company and do the things that align with your values, because I'm sure there are people whose values it will align with as well. So my advice on that is to be true to yourself, to not deviate from that. And what I learned from that now, as I'm much older now, best and most interesting way that I take on new things is when I feel flow. And I think the example of you and I would be the best way I can sort of illustrate it. We were introduced It was a quick, you emailed, I emailed right back. We got on a call very quickly. It was a gorgeous conversation. And then here we are. And to me, when flow happens and things feel good and they're aligned with my principles and my values, and I don't deviate for that to fit somebody else's principal values that I may not agree with, that's how I know I'm tracking in the right way and how I feel good about whatever I do. Even if it doesn't work out, at least my sort of moral compass and my alignment with what's important to me is my North Star. And so I like to say yes. I love change. I love adventure, and I'm very curious. But at the end of it, it has to feel good to me, and it has to feel like flow. If there's too much friction, usually friction to me means like it's not for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And I love that you recounted the story of us getting to know each other. And I love it when I meet somebody and I feel the flow as well. So I can't wait till we meet in person. And I feel like this is a good place to finish up today. But I do want to say, is there anything you would like to leave us with?
Yes, I actually would. I just want to say that I think style in the way that people associate it in their mind is a first world problem. Like you have to spend a lot of money and you have to do a lot of things and have a lot of things and have a big closet. And it's actually just the effort. It's the effort of you putting yourself first. It doesn't have to cost a lot. It doesn't need to be a big production. It's just saying for a few minutes in the morning and a few minutes in the night that you put yourself first. And that when you do that, it brings about a sense of confidence that will change how you navigate your day. And so I just want to encourage all women that it's not a first world problem. It is a wellness tool. It is a gift to yourself. It's self-care, if you want to call it that, but it's important. It's an important effort that you make for yourself that will reap many benefits for you.
Thank you so much. In just a couple of minutes, I'm going to let people know how they can get in touch and some next steps. But in the meantime, I want to say I loved this conversation. Thank you so much for what you do to contribute to women showing more up as themselves, showing up more as themselves, and just elevating not only themselves, but other women around them. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
I adore that woman, and I really love this quote when she said, "Your confidence walks into the room before you do." That really stuck with me because every choice you make about how you show up, how you carry yourself, how you honor your own evolution, it's already being communicated before you even say a word. And it goes beyond the surface level of style and presentation. It hits deeper. So ask yourself honestly, am I really showing up as the woman I've become, as the leader I've become, as the leader I want to be, as the head of this business that I have poured blood, sweat, and tears into? Or am I showing up as an earlier version of myself? I said earlier how I was wearing suits as a young businesswoman. It was how I was elevating myself to feel more into who I wanted to be, but I wasn't being myself. These days, I don't have to prove myself, not nearly in the same way I used to. But I want us to ask, am I holding myself back from standing in my own expertise, saying what I want to say, holding my head high in front of what I've created and achieved? Because all the people around you take cues from you, your team, your peers, your family, your friends. They see how you lead. They learn from you. They're seeing you model a way of being. And while that might feel like a bit of pressure, that is power that you are holding. You can change not just how you show up, but also how people in your business show up, how your business looks externally, how your brand becomes visible in your industry. I would love to know what you got from today's episode. Lisa is a firecracker in the most gentle way. And so I enjoyed speaking with her about this topic that so many of us avoid. We think, oh, maybe it's surface level, but it's not, because when you feel good in your skin, you can rule the world. I always say, give me a good day at the hairdresser and some eyelashes and I can rule the world. No, I kind of say that jokingly, but it's like how we present. There are ways for us to feel more in our power, more congruent. I'd love to know what you thought of today's episode. You can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, or you can send me a direct message over on Instagram. You'll find us at @herbusiness. And if you enjoyed this episode, it would really serve me and it would serve Lisa if you shared this episode with a friend. Now, if you are new to the show, be sure to subscribe to the Her Business podcast. Just click follow or subscribe wherever you are listening. And then you're going to get notifications every time a new episode drops, and it's on a Thursday, Australia time. I want to thank Lisa Raja for joining me for this episode of Her Business. We have more conversations just like these happening inside the Her Business Network. If you'd like to be part of our community, head over to herbusinessnetwork.com now to learn more. I am going to put links to Lisa's website and her services over on our show notes page. Now, where you're going to find that is at herbusiness.com/358. The numbers 3, 5, and 8. So herbusiness.com/358. Once again, that's herbusiness.com/358. Join us on the next episode for more inspiring stories and lessons from successful female entrepreneurs. We have so many good episodes coming up. Be sure to bookmark us. I'll see you next week right here on the Her Business podcast. Bye for now.